Well, good afternoon, everyone. I promised my wife that I would not make any conferences this year. But when you get the email from your Italian friend, you can't resist, you can't refuse.
What did you say to your wife?
I just said I had this email from an Italian friend. So apart from that pressure, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. I don't know how you feel, but it's clear our Austrian friend there is looking outside, looking at the blue sunshine. I thought, because I'm very encouraged that this type of discussion is continuing in fracture mechanics, because it's wonderful that it's still happening. I thought I would present a summary of work that, in particular Majid, I put Majid first because he did his PhD with us about 10 years ago at Bristol, and he's returned to Iran, become a professor, and continued to look at mixed mode loading and the effect of T-stress. So this paper is a kind of a little summary of the work we've been doing with him and his own work as well. And there's some interesting features here. It's a very simple story. I thought I would give a quick overview of that. Let's see if this works. I don't like pointers, so I will walk up here and do this. As long as you're not blinded by my shirt. Okay. The reason, if you're in metals and brittle materials, you probably know this story already, but there's another community of people who deal with brittle materials, and they are people who deal with rock mechanics and geological materials. And they've continued to look at mixed mode fracture in brittle materials, and generally come up and said that, this by the way is mode mixedly on here, so it's mode 1 here, mode 2 here, over here. And then these 3 lines here are 3 predictions based on 3 models: maximum tensile stress criteria, G criteria, strain energy density. And then they create data like this. This is data for a rock material called Johnston. I think it was fairly artificial. And then they say, by the way, these don't work. I'll fit an empirical relationship that mixes mode 1 and 2 together, and lambda and U here become empirical constants. And Majid has been looking at data like this and other data as well, along with us. So the story I want to tell is, this empiricism is not necessary. Okay, it can be explained relatively simply. So basically, we're going to look at classical examination of the attractive fields. And you already know about mode 1 stress intensity. Clearly there's a mode anti-symmetric term as well. And we know that if a T-stress is added to the analysis, that singular term here is pushed up by the presence of the T-stress. And that's all we're going to do, is look at that. So that's the series expansion for the symmetric, here, symmetric, anti-symmetric terms. Do this in cylindrical coordinates, and out pops mode 1 stress intensity factor, mode 2 stress intensity factor, and then the T-stress. For the purpose of this work, the other terms are ignored. So that's the stresses, the maximum principal stresses ahead of the corrector. Then we say, okay, this equation is differentiated with respect to theta to find the maximum value. That occurs at theta m. And then we can say, okay, when does fracture occur ahead of the crack tip? So we have to introduce an additional parameter, which we call the process zone size, or the critical point ahead of the crack, etc. in there. Okay. So basically, there's the stresses. This is now the stresses with this term added in, but it occurs on both sides of the equation. Okay. And then you recognise this is effectively a stress intensity factor at fracture. Okay. Hence, so that term there, the stress intensity factor at fracture. This is the stress intensity factor at failure for combinations of T, mode 2 one, and then this B alpha here is a mixture of the T stress and this process zone size. Oh, there they are, they're defined here. So this is B, which is normalised T, and then alpha is normalised process size to the crack length. So the additional parameter that's introduced into this analysis is the process zone size, effectively. So that's the basis that we've been working with for the last 10 years or so. And so when you come to do the experiments in mixed mode fracture, we've used this. So this is now what we call, if you have it without the T stress, it's called the maximum tensile stress criteria. Introduce the T stress, and we've just called it generalized maximum tensile stress. Okay. So what happens if you plot that analysis in terms of mode 1, mode 2? So this is the conventional maximum tensile stress criteria. And if you decrease T, in other words make T more negative, then it has no influence on mode 1, except for some special cases we've looked at. But generally it has no influence. And you can see that, at least in mode 2, you get a higher toughness. Alternatively, if you introduce a positive T, you get a lower toughness. That diagram can be plotted alternatively, instead of, you can plot it in terms of this mixed mode ratio here. So this is mode 1 to mode 2, and this is the effective stress intensity factor. And that basically says, if you do the standard thing, here's the curve, decrease the T stress, higher toughness, increase the T stress, lower toughness. So very simple indeed. Okay. So now we come to a range of test specimens that people have tested, and you find in particular in rock mechanics, people have tended to use these two specimens here, and I'll concentrate on these two a lot in the other talks. In metals, we use this. Usually in glasses and perspex, people have used plates, and then there's the anti-symmetric 4-point bend, and then more recently, Majida's developed this diagonally loaded plate. Now the interesting thing about these, of course, is they all have different stress intensity factors. They also have different T's, T stress, and I'll explain that in a minute. But there's the communities used a range of specimens, and of course, by using a range of specimens, they end up with different fracture behaviour, and I'll explain that a bit more. Okay. So here's typical plots. This is normalised stress intensity factor against this mixity parameter again. So that's mode 1, mode 2, and this is T stress. So for example, for the Brazilian disc, which again is used, like I say, widely in rock mechanics, okay. Interestingly enough, of course, if the crack angle is right, you get mode 1 up here, 0 mode 2, alright. But interestingly, the T stress is predominantly negative in this specimen. Alternatively, if you do the semicircular specimen, in other words, half of this, effectively, and test it, okay, you get a lovely positive T-stress, which is very nice. Okay? Very nice indeed. Okay. Here, the mode 2 stress intensity factor is not as high as the Brazilian disc. It's a bit of a busy diagram, but I just wanted you to focus on these two specimens. Their characteristics are very different, certainly in terms of T-stress. Here's some data, okay, for the range of geometries. This is for perspex, and this is experimental data over here. So this is mode mixity again, so there's mode 1, there's mode 2. This scale here is effective stress intensity factor normalized with respect to K1C. So lots of scatter up here. But as you move over into mode 2, and depending on the specimen shape, you get different answers. Okay? You don't get the same answer. So these are the experimental data, different specimen geometries, and I'll highlight some things out here. And then these are predictions, and basically I've been lazy. These lines should overlap here, but I thought it was a bit too busy. But these are predictions based on our generalized theory, and I had to estimate what the process zone size is. Okay? How do we estimate it? Well, we've taken the fracture toughness and the critical stress at failure and worked it out roughly. And we've said it doesn't matter which loading you're in, whether it's mode 1, mode 2, it doesn't matter what T-stress you're in, you put this number in, and these are the curves you get, and they fit the data reasonably well. I wouldn't say spot on, but reasonably well. Okay, so the next bit is really nice. Because what it says is, this is the data for the Brazilian disc, there's the prediction for the Brazilian disc, and lo and behold, Brazilian disc has a negative T. Therefore, I get a higher fracture toughness in mode 2. Simple. Okay. Now, if I do the semicircular half a Brazilian disc, do the tests, okay, this specimen has a really high T-stress, okay, a positive T-stress. Okay, there's the curve, there's the T-stress. Okay, and this data says, oh, I get a lower toughness. Wonderful, really. It fits really quite nicely. Okay. This is data for solar line glass. Okay, so now the data is plotted as mode 1, mode 2. Okay. Lots of scatter here, that's another point worth thinking about, lots of scatter. Right. And then two types of specimens. This is a square plate, and this is our Brazilian disc. That's to remind me that's the Brazilian disc. Okay. Higher toughnesses, it's got a negative T-stress. This plate specimen has a variable T-stress. I'll explain the T-stress effect on the plate in a minute, because it introduces an interesting effect. Okay? So, seems to work quite well. By the way, these lines are predictions based on generalized maximum tensile stress, and then, you know, process zone size. Okay. Now, I'm going to wind us back about 30 years, okay, where Gordon Williams and Paul Ewing did some tests on perspex. Our Japanese colleagues, UADA, did some tests on steel on this specimen, okay, and what they originally did was plot fracture angle and sort of explain the change in fracture angle with mode mixity and T-stress. It was quite nice. So they knew about the T-stress 30 years ago. So this, you know, it's interesting. What's really interesting about this specimen is that, it's this diagram here. I hope you've got your binoculars, but I'll explain it anyway. So this this is crack angle, okay, on this axis, and this is normalized stress intensity factor, or T-stress. Okay. So, if the angle is at 90 degrees, okay, it's mode 1, which is some point up here, normalized stress intensity factor. Okay. And the T-stress is -1. Okay. So there's a strong T-stress effect at beta equals 90. We know that in brittle fracture, the T-stress has no influence on stress intensity factor failure in mode 1. By the way, there's no plasticity in this, by the way. Don't get confused about the effect of T-stress on plasticity. We're assuming this is brittle elastic failure. Okay? So no effect of T-stress down here. As you change the angle of the crack from 90, okay, the mode 1 decreases. This is it. Okay, but the mode 2 increases up here. But the T-stress becomes less negative as you go around here. However, as the crack goes towards 0, goes vertical, the stress intensity factor for mode 1 and 2 go to 0. Okay? So in theory, this test should tell you whether you have fracture dominated by a stress singularity or by the remote stress. Okay? So, this diagram over here basically says fracture is not characterized by stress intensity factor, it's entirely characterized by T. Okay? Because T-stress is 1, but the stress intensity factors are 0 when it's a vertical crack. Okay? And I've not heard anybody in the fracture community necessarily talk about what's the competition between a singular dominated fracture behaviour and fractures just based across the net section. Right? And this specimen, I mean, this is dated, donkey's years old. Sorry, donkey is a very old type of Italian.
Is that an old donkey?
Sorry?
Is it an old donkey?
It's an old donkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very old.
So when the crack's vertical, there isn't a singularity. Okay? And yet somehow we forget that because the data shows it as well. And you get lots more scatter. So brittle fracture in regions where it's not dominated by the singularity often gets lots of scatter. So I thought that was I think that's a really nice story. It's a very simple story, but very nice. Okay. Oh God, I shouldn't have done this. Sorry. Okay. It appears that based on the evidence for brittle materials, perspex, glass, rock, blah blah blah, that it's adequately described by stress intensity factors and T-stress. Evidence support this, lots of it around. Okay. However, that was mode 1 and 2. What happens in mode 3? Okay, and more importantly for me, what happens in the effect of residual stress? So is the effect of the T-stress like a residual stress field, for example? Whatever. And if you want to talk to me again later, that's what I do.
Thank you, David. David.
Thank you, David. I don't know the Italians know where you live now.
Oh, they bring ice cream.
And of course, the good news as well, I think, is that what you're doing there not only works if it's a crack, but also, in fact, if you have something that's not a crack, if you have a notch or a hole or anything else, because it's the same. So as long as you can do a stress analysis of it, you can apply the same maximum stress criteria. My question was for the soda lime glass. What kind of value did you use for the distance?
I think it's about 0.2 millimeters.
Oh, that's quite large.
It's quite large. In fact, the numbers we've come out with that sort of, so you've got a bit tongue-in-cheek here. Luckily, in some cases, somebody will quote you the maximum tensile stress from other tests. So you shove that into, that ratio, K1C divided by maximum tensile stress, 1 over whatever, and you get a number out, okay? But sometimes you haven't got the data for maximum tensile stress. So the question is, what value of RC should you put in to make it work? So it's another fitting parameter as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, but as long as you have results from a couple of different types of specimens,
I could have, if I look at these, I could have, I think that's what we have done in the past. Wrong diagram. So there, for example, so this was point 1, okay, but we could have, taken these curves and said, well, what value should it be to fit? And it'll be about point 1. Okay, it just happens that we have this data to make that work. In other materials, we haven't got it, particularly in the geological materials. So it becomes yet another fitting parameter.
And actually, I find the tensile stress in a plain specimen test it can actually fool you. It's not necessarily the best thing to use.
Well, not only that, it's very scattered as well.
It's better to have like 2 different tracks or 2 different.
Yeah, you can do it like that. Yeah.
Okay, Yuri?
Okay, you have used the size of retrograde process zone in your calculation.
Yes.
And it's assumed to be constant value. But if I will change...
So it's assumed to be...
constant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But if you will change configuration of specimen, type of loading, and ratio of K1 to K2,
the
same too?
We've assumed the same value. We've not changed it. We could... I mean, the dilemma is, how do you work it out? You know what I mean? It's a bit like you're confronted with data like this, with different specimens. We have a simple theory. You say, oh, what do I need to know? Well, do I need to know how the process zone changes with... How do I work that out? I don't know, actually. So what I do is I put a constant value in and see if it works. And the curves you end up with are not too bad. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. In some cases, it's a lot of scatter.
The only cases we've found where that assumption doesn't work is when the process zone size is similar to the specimen size.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then obviously, obviously it's crazy if the process zone size is larger than the specimen size, which can happen in some cases. Then it becomes a variable. But otherwise, it seems to be reasonable to assume it's constant.
Right. With the second champion of critical distances.
Actually, it's a very simple question, my question, not terrible, I'm sure. I mean, you incorporate in your model the idea of the process zone, and you are given brittle, so linear elastic materials. My question is, according to your understanding, and as well as to your experience, what is the physical meaning of the process zone you are incorporating in your model? Because the max is clear and...
the simple answer is over that distance. In theory, the theory says there's a point ahead of the crack tip, defined by RC, where you get the maximum principal stress, where fracture will occur. Okay. Now, whether it's associated with some averaging effect over that distance, whether I don't know. Even in metals, when people have done really detailed analysis about looking at initiation sites for cleavage fracture, for me, this is a very English expression, they get their knickers in a twist, about it, and I'm going, this is a simple model, it's been around 40 years, and so I actually don't know the answer.
Well, it goes back to that 3D stress thing, doesn't it? There, the stress is 0.
Yeah.
To 2, 3. And they go up, and it's about 0.1, 0.5.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Just to what I have not shown, one of Majid's students came to work with us. And we asked them to do a series of different sized specimens on rock. Well, it wasn't really rock, it was kind of sandstone used for buildings in Bristol. And so the fracture toughness is about 1.5, 2 megapascals per metre, so it's really low fracture toughness. So we said, oh, do a specimen this size, this size, this size, this size, okay? When you take the specimen by itself, one specimen, you get an answer, you get fit. But then if you plot all the specimens together, it's a total mess. Okay, we just don't know how to do the scaling. And I know that the concrete guys, people like Bazan, etc., have looked at scaling factors and things like that. And I need to get into that. I don't understand it yet, but I think that's to do with, does the process zone size relate to the length over which the fracture events, all that kind of stuff. So I still think there's a lot to be done, even though it's relatively simple. Cool.
Okay. Professor Lazzarin, please.
I know I have read a lot of your papers. They are very, very impressive. You use the maximum precise stress division, I suppose, according to Erdogan C, a modified version of Erdogan C criteria.
Oh yes, it is. Yes.
Did you use in the past sometimes parameter S according to George C? Energy. Strain energy density.
I particularly haven't, but I think one of Majid's students may have used it.
Okay.
I know of it, but I don't know what the result is. I can't remember what the result is.
Because strain energy density includes directly the stress, the first stress, the second stress, the third stress, and so on.
Okay.
Directly.
Yeah.
It would be a good idea to use.
Okay. You want to speak?
You can simply extend this relation for the process zone by the T-stress effect, because this distance LC is a result of the plastic zone size equal to the ultimate tensile stress, for example, or the each stress. Okay. For example, if you take this from the distress part, you can extend this relation to the logic condition.
Okay, let me be absolutely clear here. I have made no reference here to plasticity.
No plasticity.
No plasticity, this T-stress effect only.
Yeah, this is just a T-stress effect.
Yes.
Now, I know people have used T-stress to look at elastic plastic fracture or small-scale yielding effects, okay? And the dilemma I'm faced with that is people relate the process zone size sometimes to the plastic zone size. And I don't think in elastic plastic fracture they are the same thing. Okay. We agree. So, the problem is the T-stress in elastic plastic fracture, T-stress, Q-stress, hydrostatic stress, whatever you want to call it, changes the plastic zone size. Okay? Who is to say that the plastic zone size and its variation with triaxiality has any influence on the fracture process zone that occurs inside the plastic zone? And that's why I, after many years, have decided not to relate T-stress to plasticity effects. Okay.
John Locke said years ago, you were right.
Sorry? Am I? John Locke said it?
Am I not right? He found that the fracture always started, you get cleavage state about 0.1, 0.15 millimeters ahead of the crack tip, and that was the maximum traction constraint where you actually got that point occurred. And it's not the same as the plastic zone. And then you found people fiddle with finite element models to try various similar things to work out what opening might be, but they don't work very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can comment, it means if you could find a meaningful critical distance for the material as a material property, it would be great.
There was another question coming from here.
Sorry, go on.
What
what would be the difference if you changed your critical distance by 1 order of magnitude below and 1 above?
You mean if you made it 0.01 or 1?
Yeah, 1 and 1.
If you make the critical distance very small, then it's all going to be.
It's a classical
go
one.
back to
So very
if
small.
you make it very big, it will just go to the normal stress transformation equation.
Yeah. That's right. It would go. So thank. So the answer is. He's younger than me. So the answer is if it's very. If it's a very small distance, then it goes to that. If it's a very long distance, if you go further and further out, it just becomes T-stress dominant and there's no singular stress.
But interesting actually, for most problems anyway, it's not too sensitive, you know? Whether you use 0.1 or 0.2, for example, you get very good.
It's within the scatter.
So you don't have to know too precise.
Well, I think it's interesting to see how these British people help each other.